else joining.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
All right, Don Cooney. Ben Damero.
Here.
Patrice Griffin.
Here.
Brenda Hughes. Bobby Hopewell.
Present.
Kim Hollers.
Present.
Zakia Lee.
Present.
Shalana Lewis. Carol McGlynn.
Here.
Tim Reddy. He's connecting audio, but we see him. He's present for the person taking meeting minutes. And Alyssa Stewart.
Present.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Reddy, you have no microphone, even though it says that it's not muted. So I don't know if you can hear us or not, but we can't hear you.
I'm gonna communicate with him in the chat right quick. Oh, I don't see a chat. Sorry. Okay.
He's on the phone. Dr. Reddy, are you on now?
He's still muted.
We still can't hear you, sir. Okay, we'll go on to approve the minutes. Doc, just work on it as you can. You should have received the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Moved by McGlynn,
Support.
supported by the vice mayor. Any comments, discussion? All in favor, aye. Dr. Reddy, you can raise your.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You should have the agenda before you. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
No, it's aye.
Okay, we'll take those as approved by consensus. Item 5, reports of officers, boards, and committees. There are none at this point. Item 6, new business. 6A, SBK funding process. Mr. Ford.
All right. It's some background noise I'm hearing. If everybody wanna,
Yeah, mute your microphone.
yep. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So first thing, funding process. Let me share screen. Okay. So it says I can't screen share. Neil is on the line. Neil, is there any way I can be able to share the screen?
You should be all set now, Kevin.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Can everybody see that? All right. So this is funding process, developing a uniform and standard process for the public to access any type of SBK dollars. I know last time we had a process, it was kind of choppy, left a lot of room for improvement. And this is the beginnings of what that could look like. So again, this high level project life cycle of that, 5 phases, initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and then the close. We are right here in the planning phases. Nothing has went out publicly in terms of application, but I'm working on that, funding guidelines, and just overall process of how we approve any type of funding that's going out. And so, and I can send this to everybody after the meeting as well. So that's high level. And then this is just general timeline of what that may look like. So today, next month, discuss, have some decisions around that, looking to finalize and launch an application end of year. Application deadlines in January and funding decision in March. So we require some grant management software to help and assist in this. Currently, there's nothing we could point to physically. If somebody comes up to any of us and says, you know, how do we access SBK assistance? There's nothing we could point to physically. So the grant management software helped with that. United Way has been helping us with that. And I think we are close to acquiring that software this week. And so we'll be able to have an application scoring rubric, et cetera, all these components online, point people to. We can establish some cycles, 2 cycles per year to help with this as well. And if anybody is thinking this seems like a long time, couple things to lift up. So first time we deployed funds, it was a 3-month plus process from beginning to end. Second, I've been looking at local funders and nationally, foundations from the trust-based philanthropy project to kind of get a feel on their structure and their processes. And so on average, it's about 2 months, 72 days, 2 months, 11 days. So this isn't out of line. It's within range of common practices. And so I'll send this out to folks. And then any questions, you can shoot me back your questions or concerns. But next steps after this, I'm gonna be on vacation the last week of October. So 2 weeks from now, I'll send you all documents for review, and then we can get some input. November, we can make a decision to move forward with the funding process, and then these next steps will go into play.
Are there any questions for Mr. Ford?
I
Yeah,
have a question.
Louis?
Yep.
So you said it would be publicly available. Are you thinking that we would, it would be open to really anybody, or, because I know before it was the teams. But is this something that's going to be publicized and just like
Yeah.
anybody in the community could access?
Yeah. So before I go on vacation, I'm gonna send you all a guideline document, and there, what you're lifting up to have the eligibility criteria elements all in that document, and that's what'll go out, or that's what will be available publicly, so folks can look at eligibility and criteria, and then they can decide from there.
Ms. Hughes?
So I was a couple of minutes late, excuse me, signing on, so I didn't hear the very intro. So our last time we met 2 months ago, I thought we were talking about doing our own thing with that money. But now we're back to just taking proposals and sort of the way we did it before.
So no, it's not. So last time it wasn't doing our own thing.
Well, we were trying to come up, we were talking about ideas of amongst ourselves of what we might do with that money. I might have stated that wrong. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we made some decisions last time we met. In terms of taking in proposals, like you mentioned, currently we don't have anything that's standardized or uniform that we could point people to receive SBK support. That's what this piece of the conversation is about.
Okay, well, maybe it'll become more clear to me when I see it. Thank you.
So Mr. Ford, I guess I'm going to wander into the same space. So we're not a granting foundation, as in we never plan to have applications that you come to us with. It's all about us seeking out and us partnering. And I don't think we've changed that. You know, pretty much we invite people to the table. We had the three committee chairs in our three realms. And I think this where maybe Brenda's going to, but I don't know when we flip the switch that we're going to be putting out something publicly that this is what you apply and how you apply things that to us, our team of folks. So Ben and Kim and Amro to feedback with us and the people they're working with in those different realms, moving that forward. We changed our thinking a little bit in regards to Black driven, African American driven, or minority driven, I don't remember the wording, social change.
Yeah.
That's adjusted it, but I guess I'm not excited about us putting something out in regards to this is how you apply, because was never our intent unless we're changing our intent. So I'm a little.
Yeah, so I understand. Thank you all both for your contributions. And in terms of intent, you're correct. We're not going to be like a foundation, a traditional foundation. But for better or worse or different, dollars going out is similar in context, right? So it's not as big as a community foundation or Stryker Johnston Foundation, but dollars being deployed, again, similar in context. And so last time, like I said, it was kind of choppy how that happened. This is, again, just uniform, it's standardized, and we can still incorporate what we talked about last time. And so in a guideline document, I had that language, I had that intent in terms of what we discussed last time, Black-led social change, narrative work, 2Gen work, etc. Again, the difference is not we're inviting people. We didn't really invite people last time, right? So we can still achieve the same outcomes that we want. It'd be more efficient.
Glenn?
So if I'm hearing you right, this is really more about the actual grant, deciding on the grants. We would still have the ability to either send that people would send us a letter of intent, that it would be around the areas that we would want to be funding, that, you know, we could possibly invite people to doing a letter of intent, but this is really more about the actual granting process, having a place to actually have a formal application. And is that where we're going, Kevin, with this, or is that not what you're thinking?
No, that's correct. I didn't put in letter of intent, LOI, but again, having it standardized, having it uniform, and again, we can, you know, if we're in relationship with folks, we can send them that way. But like I said, currently there's nothing we could point people to say, yeah, go there, and it'll trigger a process, and that's how you can receive any type of SBK support. The idea of it being inside, I understand where that kind of made sense last time. I don't think we managed expectations as well as we could have last time. And so again, learning from that and making some adjustments and tweaks, that's where this comes from.
Yeah, so yeah, we need to be very careful here. You know, I'm coming from the learnings, and Ms. Lee helped me from the Learning Network. This is that quirky area that we get into, and that we had heavy duty discussions that we're a partnering organization, that we would solicit, and we did solicit by bringing people together with the co-chair or the three chairs to, they were invited to the table to work on youth issues, job issues, I forgot, and family. We brought them to the table. And we have said over and over and over that we were not going to be this place where you go and write an application. You're a partnering group. We determine who our partners are, and we work with them to move things forward. How does something, and we talked a lot about how something new enters that realm. I thought there was a process for doing that. So if we're talking about that, I'm really comfortable. If we're talking about putting some application that's generally out there in the public, and people read something thinking they can apply, or they do apply, and then, this is, Ms. Lee, this sounds a lot like the area we struggled with the learning network, where we were leading with money compared to leading with intent and strategy and what have you.
We not leading with money in this case.
Well, if we're going to say on a website that this is what you have to do for you to gain support or resources from the foundation, or from SBK, it seems like we are leading with money.
How is that different from what you explained before in terms of soliciting?
Here's my difference is, we're not, when you put it on the website and you put it in public, it's a public call, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to us as individuals that are working and trying to figure out this realm of prosperity, we put out a call to come and sit at a table to specific organizations, specific disciplines, to work in these multiple specific areas, the three areas. To me, I think there is a difference between having something public out there and then you are coming to us. One's a push, one's a pull. And I just am really,
one's closed and one's open.
You can close and open, push, pull, partner, non-partner. I mean, we can look at it all these multiple ways.
And I guess I would say, if I can hear both sides of it, I do know we in this community, we never want to lead with the money. And Kevin, I'm not exactly saying that that's what we're doing, but we don't want to do that, because then people will say, oh, they got $1 million and I can go and get my share, whatever. I do know that even when we had the goal teams, even with that in place, we still struggled and missed the mark of community voice. And I don't necessarily want to say community partners, because we had those folks represented at the table, but people the closest to those neighborhoods, the closest to those issues. And so in a way, I see this as a bridge to that. I don't think we omit things being connected to or tied to goal teams, though. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Dr. Cooney.
Bobby, I thought, well, maybe I'm getting it wrong, but my idea was that we would propose, hey, here's how we could move forward on a 2-generational program, and how the city could be involved in that, and what resources. And so we would put ideas on the table coming out of the goal teams and whatever. The other way, we're giving the power to the community, say, what do you guys think? Or whoever, not necessarily the community, but whoever is saying, well, here's the way we should think. I thought we were going to set the direction of where we could move forward on a 2-generation proposal, and then invite people to put proposals in to move us forward in that area.
But with that, like, not everybody knows about the proposal, the process. I don't know. I can see both ends of it. I completely agree with what you're saying. And at the same time, we know we missed the mark. we know we missed the mark with a lot of things in the first round. We know we walked away with, I mean, from my group, no early childhood. We know that we put things in the parking lot, like transportation is still in the parking lot. We know we missed the mark with some things. And so how do we best get things out of the parking lot? How do we best really look at closing the gap is what I think we need to focus on. And I know we have this umbrella and we're focusing on Black folks and we have said Black folks. But I think we still have to find a way to make sure this next time around, no matter what the approach is that we do not miss the mark.
Stuart, I think I couldn't tell if you had a comment or.
Thank you. Trying to wait a moment because I wasn't here for the entirety of the last process, so wanted to listen to you all before I spoke. But just a thought about maybe a way to bridge what I'm hearing, that idea of kind of push and pull and open and closed. I'm wondering about, another difference would be that there would, from what Kevin has shared, a clear cycle, sort of a process that would be in place. Part of me wonders if an actual part of that process could be gathering. So like if a first step to learning about these resources would be a convening, a virtual convening, of course, but where we are bringing anyone who might be interested or doing work that fits within our interest areas of 2Gen, Black-led initiatives or BIPOC-led initiatives. And that would be like the first step, would be bringing people together to figure out where are their potential collaborations, where are, what are approaches that people would be interested in. And then from there, access to an application is granted. So I'm just trying to think of how we could not lead with the resources, but also be transparent about resources and ensure that there's a feeling of accessibility, and that there's a balance between our power as a committee to determine strategies and the community's ability to inform strategies that are funded. So is that a way to accomplish that maybe?
Yeah, I think that the bottom line is we aren't all in alignment on how we move forward. And Mr. Stewart, I think you're making an excellent point, and both you and Ms. Lee, we got to find some balance between folks in the community and the ideas that bubble up from here, from where we are, and bubble in from other directions. How that works is it needs to be very, very intentional, but also very strategic, so that we do accomplish some things and that we do have impact. And so what I would say is we're going to want to mesh out a full, clear strategy before putting anything out there in public or anything on a website. What is our intentions, and really agree on that in a very robust way, or we will stumble here. Because there's also has to be flexibility as well. I'm not saying, oh, everything's got to be locked down. You might have a great idea, Ms. Lewis, you might come across something that's amazing and it didn't go through this particular process, but there's basis or reasoning or whatever rationale for moving that forward. So yeah, we got to be loose, but we got to be tight, and just keep in mind not leading with the dollars. Because we could get 100 applications, and who's going to vet 100 applications or something because someone has something they feel they meet the criteria? Well, I don't
Right. So
there's a lot of work beyond putting this out there and development of the rubric. I think that's important, but I think we got to get more meat on the bone on this. That's what Ms. Lewis?
Yeah, I have a question about, Bobby, you mentioned like what the difference between a operating foundation and a traditional foundation. And just, it seems as if some of the way in which we did it last time, yes, in the beginning it was developed, the proposals were cultivated through the goal teams, but what my experience has been with kind of the operating foundations is the partnership ongoing in the implementation. And I'm not sure what that looked like last time and what that should look like this time. And what role do we as a committee play in helping to not only cultivate the requests, that will come, but also to help with implementation on the, because I agree. I think that we could come up with something really cool where we use a process,
Too bad.
but do a collaborative kind of community-based prioritization process of some sort, or co-development of what projects would come forth. But just what does it look like for us, even as a committee, to be involved with any projects from idea stage to implementation is my main question, I guess, thinking about how programmatic foundations usually work.
Also, if someone does not have their microphone on mute, we're getting a lot of background noise. So if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. Thank you. So what direction are we giving staff?
I think Dr. Reddy is trying to call through. I keep getting his name and a phone on my screen.
Can anybody hear me?
We can
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, we can.
Yay, okay, finally. My internet is down, so I'm on audio only on my mobile phone. I don't know, my understanding, I don't know that we came to any agreement that we were to go through another round of proposals. That was not my understanding from our previous discussions. I think my understanding is more consistent with what Bobby was articulating and Don was articulating, that, I think that, our role as a committee is to kind of put forth a vision, and we've kind of zeroed in on 2-gen programming, most recently, but, more generally, it's the 3 goals of jobs, healthy growth, development, and learning of kids, and access to and strong, secure families. So it seems to me our role is to generate vision, checking in with the community as we do in a dialogue process. So I'm a little befuddled by this out of this conversation so far.
Hey, Bobby, if I could, I appreciate, Kevin, you put something down for us to react to. Always appreciate when, individuals give us that opportunity instead of trying to create something on our own. To me, it sounds like we have some recommendations in terms of how this should look in moving forward. I'd recommend a small committee of this group get together with Kevin and draft a revised proposal to us to react to at the November meeting.
That sounds like a plan. McGlynn?
I think that's a good idea. I don't think that we're off in the idea of having a way of looking at the grants and having that rubrics and all of that. I think the point is I think everybody's feeling we've jumped to a place that we're not quite ready to go with it really depends on what we do with the guidelines, what we do before those applications start coming in.
Yeah.
How do we prepare? How do we do some collaborative meetings? And as Alyssa suggested, do we come up with the areas that we would like to, the guidelines? And Kevin, you talked about, it makes a difference how we set the guidelines and stuff. So I'm not opposed to the idea of having that granting software to do that part of things. I just think everybody is feeling more like we've got a lot of work before we get to that point to do.
Other comments, questions? Dr. Reddy, we got your face now, so that's cool. Ms. Hughes?
Okay, I guess, again, maybe I don't know what the subcommittee, well, I don't know what the subcommittee decided after our last meeting 2 months ago. Because as you said, Bobby, we left it on concentrating on the Black community. And so my mind was going in a whole different direction and not going towards community proposals and stuff at all. And I was even thinking that whatever we could come up with that would make the most difference to the most families, 2-generational, we should just throw the whole $1 million into it. That's where I was thinking. So I'm confused. And Kevin, if you sent out minutes to what the subcommittee said and I didn't read them, I'm sorry. But so we're kind of like far away from where I thought we were. And I didn't think we were going to do this proposal thing with the usual players generally again either.
Well, and to that point, I think one, if we are thinking about doing something for Black folks, I say it all the time, nothing about us without us. That
Sure.
means Black people in the community or that serve on community boards or that leaders of that. I still see the two being paired. And I don't live in one of the core neighborhoods. As a Black woman, I can't say what they need on the east side. I could generally say what I think that kids need everywhere, and what data shows me. So I just wanted to lift up that I think that even if we talk about a community approach for Black people, we could still be saying Black people that are community leaders, that are abreast of what's going on. And I feel like the Hunger Games, I nominate as tribute, Kevin, to look at this with you in a subcommittee. I don't know what the subcommittee will look like, but I nominate as tribute.
Thanks.
I've never heard that one on Zoom before. Hunger Games.
I have a, yeah, I mean, I know there was a conversation about narrative change work as well. And the 2-gen narrative change, it seemed like there was 3 general categories that we were working on. And so I'm happy to support. I know Kevin and I had talked a little bit about some narrative change work since the last meeting. So I'm just wondering about just all of our roles. I'm happy to join any meetings, although my schedule can be pretty tight. So I'm happy to join if I'm available, but just wondering about, how folks envision us as a whole committee working on the long run on these projects.
Thank you. So I guess I would say, Kevin, why don't we get the chairs and back together with you and try to hone down what we learned at this meeting from everyone and try to count what's been said and figure out a path forward to recommend something that we're actually recommending as a proposal.
Okay.
I think that might help us, and then we can have something that can peel apart and things of that nature. But Ms. Lewis, I think you are very, very on target with what you said. And so Brenda, this might bring some enlightenment to it. Remember, we didn't make a decision that we would spend this or do that, at least with money. We didn't make that decision. We did make a decision that we wanted to head in an additional or new direction, or that we wanted to enhance the 2-gen approach. So I think there was still ability with what we do and how we approach it and how we move. But we'll try to figure out and get the Play-Doh going and bring you back something that we make that's pretty out of the Play-Doh, and then let you chop it up.
Yeah, I guess I just request that, to know what the subcommittees talk about, because it seemed like the whole thing changed from when we left the last meeting to when we began this meeting. And I'm sure there was a subcommittee that was going to happen after the last meeting.
Yeah. We will take everything that we've learned at this meeting and the last meeting and try to figure out something that we can give you and that we can dive into, and we'll get it into your hands before the meeting, so at least we can go from there. I think that's about as good as we're gonna come out of this right now. So.
I'm going to schedule that with chair and vice chair.
Okay.
And the goal team chairs. So you all will get a calendar invite today or tomorrow.
Okay. All right, 6B, neighborhood block clubs.
You're on mute, Kevin.
All right. Thanks, Ms. Lee. This kind of connects with what we just got done discussing in a way. So pre-pandemic, our community planning and economic development director had approved a small dollar amount from our shared community engagement pool of money to launch neighborhood block clubs. I've been working with a resident on the north side in terms of this idea and this concept. It's not a new concept, but in terms of doing it here in our core neighborhood, our SBK core neighborhoods in particular, for the purposes, one, of increasing information flows between residents and city, between residents, city residents and city organization. Offering the opportunity to have residents trained in community organizing. That was another big part of it. And so just as a heads up, again, we talked about a process and how things come to the table. So this may be coming to the table within the upcoming months. I'll discuss this with my supervisor, Antonio Mitchell, and he has an idea in terms of neighborhood block clubs and the ring security system as a way to promote this. And so wanted to put that on the radar and put that on the table. And again, this is another aspect and component of having a standardized process that everybody understands and we clear on in terms of how things get into the mix, into the SBK mix. So just wanted to say that, open it up for any questions, discussion.
Okay. So we'll get more information about the block clubs and about that as it goes. We'll learn more about how it's growing, neighborhoods going into, and then we'll get what I'm understanding.
Yep.
Okay. All right, 6C, bylaw amendment, conflict of interest.
Yep. So it was recommended to me by Antonio to have some language in our bylaws around conflict of interest. We have an Economic Development Board and Brownfield Redevelopment Authority that has conflict of interest language. We don't currently have that within our bylaws. Current bylaws state we need a 2/3 vote to amend the bylaws, and then they will have to go to City Commission. But conflict of interest in terms of the language, just putting everything above board. If anybody has any conflict of interest, state that directly. Again, we don't have that language. I don't think it would be a issue, but we just want to have that language to be above board, especially if funds going out, having that transparency and having everything above board. So that is on the table for discussion in terms of a decision, not expected to make a decision today. I can share the language that we already have in terms of other city boards and send that out. And if a decision is to be made, it will be at the November meeting. So I send documents out, language. It's just some brief verbiage around that, give you plenty of time to look at it. And then if we make a decision, it would be at the November meeting.
Do we know, so for your Mr. Mitchell or for you, or maybe CM Lamb, most of these policies, or are they bylaws? See, I've seen conflict of interest policies in boards I serve on, and then I sometimes see them within the bylaws, but I think I rarely do. I see more policies than bylaws. Do we know what is our standard, or what do we typically do, Mr. Mitchell? You're on mute, by the way.
I just raised my hand. So Bobby, what we're trying to do, was I was talking to our City Attorney Rich Cherry, is making sure that we don't have any conflict, similar to the BRA board, where you guys are making a decision on money going out. One thing I was asking Kevin, I said, this group is pretty diverse and pretty active in the community. And if there's proposals in the future that are coming, we need to make sure there's no idea that there's some conflict of interest of decision-making going on for approving funds that go to certain organizations because someone's involved with the board or something like that.
Yeah, I appreciate the reasoning and the rationale, and certainly that makes sense. My question again is, do people do this by policy or by bylaws more? And I see DC and Lynn, you unmuted, so I assume you wanted to dive in.
I'll chime in to say I do think it varies, and something that in the different boards and commissions I've been exposed to, I think it's handled differently. So certainly we could do a more thorough review to let you know which are which, but I've seen it handled different ways depending on the board and committee.
And my only point is that going to the 2/3 piece, yeah, you know, if we can get at this and get at it without having to do 2/3, or if we feel that it needs to be in the bylaws, we can do that. I don't have a preference, just let's get it done. And, I always think that typically when you apply for a board, that you should get that as part of your application process to declare conflicts. And for some reason, I thought it was on the city's board application, but I have no.
And Bobby, let's have Kevin get clarified what your question is with Attorney Cherry and get back to you guys by email on what he's really recommending that be drawn up and approved by you guys next month.
Okay. And by consensus, I can see no one's shaking their head, don't do this, don't do this. So we all feel that kind of conflict of interest thing. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good enough.
All right.
You're on mute, Bobby.
I know I lost my agenda, so I didn't want you to hear me go.
Bobby, can I just add something too? So usually, there's kind of two things you can do here, right? A lot of times there's a form that you fill out, as you forward that information. But then there's also when you're dealing with grants and things like that, that you're actually declaring. So I think we have to have it very clear what we're talking about here. And I think I'm getting some back noise.
Okay. So you know what to do, go on to proceed and bring us back something, then we'll figure it out. Shouldn't be much for us to figure out if we're having a lot of debates over conflict of interest when none of us are experts in the law. It should be more or less presenting us with a policy or bylaw change. So whatever it is. And Antonio, you don't need to do a lot of research for me with the city attorney. You guys figure that out. You need to send that out to us. Just you propose what he recommends and be done with it. So don't do an extra email to say, hey, he said this or that. Just develop whatever and be prepared to present it. So
okay,
that extra spin on it. And I've lost my agenda. What's next, Kevin?
Unfinished business. It's the 2Gen project update. So I've been in conversation with Alyssa and Nakia from United Way, as well as Sarah Clerk, who's been working on that. I think we went over in terms of some wrinkles with COVID, but she does have a draft recommendation, and it essentially recommends that the city work with United Way to establish a 2-generation network. And so there's some more things that she's finishing up some folks that received emergency relief funding from United Way. I think she's going to speak with them and some other things in November. But essentially, upon finalization of the document, and we'll get that out to you, we'll start the steps in terms of establishing the 2Gen network and building that out. So what that looks like. So that's another opportunity that's going to come up to establish some roles for the committee in terms of community and also co-creating with community as we build out that network.
So this, just to clarify one piece, United Way had been working on this, if I'm not mistaken. And so we're just trying to have us all on the same page, moving forward together. And if you just shake, you don't even need to answer me. If that's the case, I see Ms. Stewart shaking her head. Okay, I just wanted.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Questions there? Oh, Dr. Cooney, did you raise your hand?
No.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to looking at all these fixes. It's getting dizzying here. All right, I got my agenda back. Any questions for Kevin on that? All right, miscellaneous.
I wanted to highlight a couple things around that. So there are some other SBK related activities I'm involved in that I want to bring to everybody's attention. It's early stages, but one, children's savings accounts. Myself, Steve Brown from FFE, some other community stakeholders, Sakia Lee actually from the Promise, and some other community stakeholders have been meeting as a group in terms of potentially launching a children's savings account. I know I mentioned this some years back. It didn't gain a lot of traction, but Steve Brown from FFE is kind of looking at it, and I've been talking to him about it. And so it's early stages right now, but just want to put it on everybody's radar here at the SBK table. That's one. Second, there has been a journalism collaborative that's been meeting, Southwest Michigan Journalism Collaborative. I know Lana mentioned earlier, her and I have been talking around this narrative change piece. And so this group, this journalism collaborative group has kind of tried to find its legs. Lana and myself has spoke with them some weeks ago in terms of TRHT and SBK work respectively, and how we envision some narrative change around race and poverty. And that group really seemed to get excited and take a liking to that. And so we've been in conversations with them in terms of what that could potentially look like around narrative work and narrative change. So I'm bringing that up with the SBK group because, again, we're talking about deploying dollars, narrative change, narrative work. We talked about that at the last meeting. So it may be opportunity upcoming in terms of this journalism collaborative, SBK and TRHT to partner around that. So just putting that on everybody's radar. Those are the only two miscellaneous items I had.
Questions, folks? Kevin, what was the first miscellaneous item again?
That was around CSAs, children's savings accounts.
Thank you. I'm glad that. So the U.S. Conference of Mayors has a program. I've shared this multiple times with folks from CPED. I know Mayor Shore is running this in Lansing with great success right now. And then this program that U.S. Conference of Mayors has, they have an awarding program as well. So for certain things you do in your community, we've never applied for any of these awards, and there's some dollars that come from it. I think Mayor Shore got $10,000 to support their effort. So I would get with the mayor and look at the U.S. Conference of Mayors opportunities. They've got a couple of playbooks, and they've got a number of playbooks that, and I don't know where they came from. I'm not saying they're the gospel, but it may be helpful. So I offer that as tribute.
All right, thanks.
Oh, sorry, I'm misbehaving. Any other miscellaneous comments? All right, and we have public comments. Mr. Conway. Or whomever handles public comment. Ma'am, do you know how public comments are handled on this?
Generally,
We have no public comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't know if it was Conway or whomever. All right, are there? I guess that's it, right? We go to adjournment. I keep losing my agenda. Computers.
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for taking time out on your Monday. And looks like we'll have a lot of work coming back to us to review and look at. If you have questions for Mr. Ford or the team, please make sure to do that. And Mr. Ford, you're going to send out that calendar invite for the chairs and go from there.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody.
take care, everybody.
Stay safe.
Appreciate it.